In this video I talk a lot about how to use AI to help you create dynamic text boxes for your website. For an experienced programmer, this is a pretty easy task to accomplish. But what about those who have very limited experience programming HTML and CSS? I want to show you how even the novice programmer can create interesting results using AI. Here's what I'm going to produce. Notice how the boxes grow in size vertically when my mouse hovers over the box. This small action can give a static website a bit more flair, which may help draw the attention of visitors to points you would like to make. So let's take a look at how I was able to make this happen using AI. I decided that the container the boxes would fit into would be 980 pixels wide and 275 pixels tall. No magic here, I just had to start somewhere. I want the height of each individual box to be a little bit less than the overall height of the container. In this example, I made the individual boxes to be 245 pixels tall. To calculate the width of each box, I take 980 pixels and divide by 4, giving me a width of 245 pixels. Now I'm ready to generate my first prompt to allow AI to produce some code. In my web browser, I navigate to openai.com. Once there, I create a new chat. Now I click on the prompt field and start typing my prompt. I tell AI that I want separate HTML and CSS files that will produce the 980 by 275 pixel container. I asked for the background color to be gray. I chose a background color of gray to help me see the container on my page. I will change this to white to make my work look better on the page later after I get the code working the way I want. I continue describing the individual box sizes and then give AI the hex code number for the two colors I want my boxes to be. When I press enter, the magic starts to happen. As you can see, AI has generated some code for us to evaluate. Here's how I test the code AI has produced. I use Notepad++, a free text editing program that is very useful for programming. After opening Notepad++, I make sure I have a new file to work with. I return to the AI response and copy the HTML code and then paste it in the new file I created in Notepad++. Pay particular attention to the name of the CSS file listed in the HTML code. With the HTML code pasted in Notepad++, save the file as index.html. Next, I create another new file in Notepad++. I return to the AI response and scroll down to view and copy the CSS code generated for me. Back in Notepad++, I paste the CSS code in the new file I created. I save this file using the name listed in the HTML code. Be sure to save this CSS file in the same folder where the HTML file is located. I now want to preview how my web page will look using the code AI gave me. I make sure the HTML file is active in Notepad++ and click on the View option in the menu bar. I then tap the View Current File in Item and select the browser where I would like Notepad++ to display the rendered HTML page. I'm using Firefox as my test platform, so I tap on the Firefox option. Notepad++ launches my code in a web page for my review. I see that AI totally missed the mark on what I asked it to do. AI decided that I meant to have the boxes stack on themselves at the left side of the container rather than run side by side at the bottom. This is a prime example of how exact your prompt needs to be to help AI produce what you want. So, I decided that the best way to give AI a better chance of coding exactly what I want is to explain where each box should be using the position of the lower left corner of the boxes. Since each box is 245 pixels tall by 245 pixels wide, the first box will begin at 0 pixels from the left of the container. The second box will begin 245 pixels from the left, the third box will start at 490 and the fourth box begins at 735 pixels. In my next prompt, I tell AI exactly where I want each box located using the CSS file it originally created. AI quickly updates the CSS commands for me. I copy the code AI generated and paste it back into Notepad++. After saving the updated CSS file, I refresh my web page so I can see the new preview. Now things are starting to work the way I want them to. With the boxes in the right position, it's time to get AI to write the code to make the boxes grow to fill the full 275 pixels of the container height when the mouse hovers over each box. Let's assume I know this change will happen using CSS commands. With this in mind, I will include my existing CSS code as part of my next prompt to AI. This is an important step when working with AI to program your project. If you are satisfied with most of what AI has originally produced for you, be sure to let AI know that you want your existing code altered to make any changes. I have found that if you don't do this, AI will produce new code that sometimes eliminates elements that are already functioning properly. By pasting your code as part of your prompt, you let AI know that you want the working code modified. In this way, you stand a better chance of not losing functionality. Keep in mind that if you do lose functionality, you can always revert back to the old code or just have AI add that functionality back in. I return to OpenAI.com and begin typing my next prompt. I tell AI that when the mouse hovers over each box, I want it to grow horizontally from 245 pixels tall to 275 pixels. When the mouse moves away, I want the box to return to the original size. I also tell AI I want this to happen with a smooth transition. I then paste my existing CSS code into the prompt and press enter. Once again, AI produces code for me to evaluate. I paste the updated code in my CSS sheet, save it and refresh the web page to see the preview. Here's what I got. With this correct result, we are almost done. Now all I need to do is to add some text, and I think this project will be complete. This time I decided to remind AI that I wanted to use the HTML and CSS code it has already produced to add this final element. I tell AI exactly what text I want in each box. I specify the size and font style of the text and let AI know how I want the text positioned. I copy the new HTML and CSS code AI created and paste it in Notepad++. After saving the new files, I refresh my web page. This is what I get. Everything looks to be working just the way I want it to. Last thing to do is to change the background color of the big container so that the entire page looks a little better. Go into the CSS sheet in Notepad++ and look where the color gray is being called. I change gray to white, save and refresh. Here's the final result. All this took about 30 minutes to complete. I probably could have coded it on my own in 15 minutes or less. But for a novice, it would have taken hours of playing Google Scavenger Hunt to make these dynamic text boxes work with all the details included in this example. Give AI a try for yourself. It is pretty amazing what it can do to help you accomplish coding projects, even when you aren't the most skilled programmer. Thanks for joining me on this installment of iTech-A-Lot. Check back for more tips and tricks as we investigate putting to use technology tools available on the internet.